Going on, everybody? I'm gonna give you guys a chance to come into the live. So take your time, grab a seat, get comfortable. I want to say hello to everybody, and welcome to drvoicetv.com. This is the home for intelligent Black people. So if you are not Black and intelligent, you may want to leave. This may not work for you. These conversations will frustrate you because we're here to tell the truth and to talk about the issues that matter for our community, so that we can have a better community and be better people. Now, today, one of my guest for today is a very special woman who is extremely smart and very talented, very capable, and her name is Michelle Irvin. Cheryl is the founder of the New Alkebalan STEM Educational Center. Did I say that right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, and she is one of the Black educators that's holding down for the community. And the reason that I am excited to talk to Cheryl today is because Cheryl believes what we believe. If you guys know anything about the platform, if you followed, you know that we're grinding every day. We're always doing this every single day. And one of the things we believe in is what is called the Black Core of Three. The Black Core of Three says that we believe that Black people should educate our own children, create our own jobs, and support Black businesses. There you go. And Cheryl believes that too. And I believe that we have not just one or two people that are out here building schools for Black children. We have a lot of people that are doing it, and we have thousands and thousands and thousands of Black educators out here that can educate Black children, and the parents also can educate our own children. So if you believe in educating our own babies so they can get out of these horrible schools, raise your hand, say yes I believe, say yes I believe, or yes I educate our own. Just say something to let us know that you're on the same page with us, because that's what we do. So first of all, I want to ask my sister, how you doing today, Cheryl?
Good, good, excellent, actually.
Hey, good. All right, all right. And you're down in Fort Lauderdale, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm down in the Fort Lauderdale area. The school is actually in Lauderhill, but that's a part of Fort Lauderdale.
Okay, okay. And so let's start just from the beginning. One of the things that I have found with schools and education is that building schools is very expensive, running schools is very expensive. And then for some people, running schools with our children in them is very lucrative. Even if they're not educating the kids, they're abusing the
Right,
kids.
right.
Got the kids out here can't read, ain't got no skill, don't know who the hell they are, but
Right.
they're still getting paid, so they don't care. Can you kind of speak to that in terms of just how deep you think the problem is when you have Black children being educated by their oppressors in a way that's not healthy for them, but it's profitable for everybody else? Can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Well, one of the main problems is that as a whole, as parents, we don't even recognize that. We don't even recognize the ways in which our schooling kind of keeps us embedded into our current social position. We don't recognize it. And we just think, I went to those same schools and I'm fine, I'm working. And that's true. I went to public school, I'm a product of public schooling. Um, and I went on to Ivy League schools and the like. But the problem is that when you look at it on a macro level and not just on a micro level, meaning when I look at it in terms of the races, right, that are racing and passing the baton from generation to generation in this um, relay race, that doesn't change. Even though my situation as an individual may change. And we have to start actually caring and recognizing that as a dynamic and caring about that as a dynamic, because it's not always going to be your child that actually moves forward. It could be your child, but then the generation after that, if we're still as a whole, as a group, as a people, still in our same um, socio-economic place in the system, that's that's not where we want to be. We want to actually advance and move forward as a group and not keep repeating the same statistics decade after decade after generation.
Well, I'll tell you this. And let me know if you guys get and understand where we're coming from on this. there are statistics out here that should just alarm the hell out of all of us. That should really upset all of us. Here's the thing, right? And I'll lay this out, and then Cheryl, I'd like to get your take on this. The future of a community is determined by, how well you're taking care of your kids, how well they're being educated, how well they're being prepared for the future.
Right.
And I was looking here on a website called edweek.org, and they were citing statistics about Black children in public schools. And this, I'm gonna give you the stat, but I'm sure it won't surprise you. They actually find that less than 10% of 8th grade Black boys are considered proficient in reading. In areas like Chicago and Detroit, it's less than 10%. It's single digits. So that means that, if you have 10 Black boys, 10 of your Black men, 10 of your future husbands, fathers, leaders of the community, whatever you expect them to be, 9 of those 10 can't compete with white boys. They can't compete with white people. They can't compete with anybody. At least not when it comes to reading, writing, and math, things like that.
Right.
How do you feel when you hear a statistic like that? And what are your thoughts as far as how we should move forward with that? Should we sit here and just keep doing the same thing? That's what I ask you.
Well, you know my answer to that, because I actually branched out and started at school because I already feel as if we should not just sit and do the same thing. I didn't just start in schooling or in education. My first year teaching in public schools in 1996. So I'm just aging myself right there. But my first year teaching in public school was 1996. And I've taught in public schools, I've taught in charter schools, I've taught in private schools, I've taught in homeschooling groups. I've even gone so far as to look up really different styles just so that I can go there, teach there, and to see what is it about that that we can bring to our children. So I've been in unschooling environments and I've taught there. I've been in free schooling environments. So I've been in all of these types of environments trying to see what works best for our children. And there's certain elements about the public school system that just don't work, and don't work for Black children in particular. Mm-hmm. And especially from 1996 to now, there has been a change in the focus, and educators around the country can tell you this, just a shift in the focus in terms of a focus on actual testing and state standardized testing across the board. And so a lot of our classrooms are focused on making the grade for the school and getting children to actually do well on those standardized tests. And so much so that they'll end up teaching to the test and really preparing the entire year for the children to take the test. Now, that's problematic because in a lot of ways, if they're learning to take the test, they're not actually learning to think. Like if we were able to teach them to think independently, read, write, and do mathematics at the highest levels, then it should be understood that they would be able to pass whatever assessments we give to them. But we spend so much time teaching to the test. One of the things that I realized as an educator is that early on, my students understood, either on a conscious or subconscious level, that the name of the game wasn't really learning. That they could actually pass a class without learning very much. And then they would ask you things about what they were learning, like, when am I ever going to use this? If your child asks you when am I ever going to use this, they're asking you, like, what is the purpose of what I'm doing? What's the point? Because they learn very early on that the point is to get good grades, to pass, to get a receipt for that level called a diploma, so that you can get to the next level and get a receipt. It's like a ticket to work. They know, and they learn very early on, they learn to connect schooling with money. And those who feel like they're not very good at schooling and they know it's connected to money will often go out and try to make money in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that happens to be a lot of our boys.
Interesting.
And that was, that was my experience in the classroom. If they couldn't connect why they were doing it, that they didn't actually exert themselves and apply themselves and to the fullest, because they just didn't get the point. They
Well,
know that they're there because they need to pass, and they know that they need to pass to get to the next level and then the next level, and it's all connected to money. But that should not be the full scope of education. That does not motivate everyone to think.
mm-hmm. Well, I think that it's, I hated school. I was terrible at school, and it did not work well for me for a lot of the reasons that you described. I didn't, first of all, it was a discipline authority issue. I did not get along with the white woman that was in front of the classroom. She didn't get along with me usually,
Right.
which links back to the statistic. Another stat I just saw, I think they said black boys make up about 15% of the kindergartners, but we represent half of the kindergartners that get suspended. Uh,
Right.
you really have a discipline issue where, the prisons are, or excuse me, the schools are like little prisons. See, that was a Freudian slip that I called it a prison.
Right.
It felt like a prison. When I would leave school, in my senior year of high school, when I cut school half the time. I would go 2 days a week, 3 days a week, maybe. And I remember feeling like I was getting out of prison. I did not feel like that place was a place that was good for me, that was teaching me anything that was going to benefit me. There was not a place that understood me, not a place that respected me. It was a place that was designed to contain and control me. That's what
Right.
you know, and I did not know. It wasn't until I got older that I realized, oh, wait a minute, there are people that go to school that actually enjoy it. I never knew that was possible. I thought school was.
I I actually enjoyed school, but you know why I enjoyed school? I enjoyed school because I enjoyed learning. I would actually go and learn things even outside of school. I can remember my mom buying this encyclopedia set that also had another book set that came with it, with all types of stories, and one book in particular was called Make and Do. And so in every page it has something that you can make. And I would just sit in my room and like make the things and try to get from cover to cover, making everything in the book. It's no wonder that my school is a project-based school, because I actually loved learning. I loved making things. But my son was Baker acted in the second grade.
It was
I,
what?
Baker acted. I don't know if people are familiar with what a Baker Act is,
No.
but a Baker Act is a legal standard that says you are a danger to yourself and or other people, and you can be committed in a hospital for 3 days, up to 3 days.
Ouch. Wow. I'm sorry
Yeah.
about
So in the second grade, my son was Baker acted. So I get a call from his elementary school saying that, my son was having a breakdown, he was having a meltdown. And I said, okay, I'll be there. Within a couple of minutes, I was at the school, but I saw police cars, two police cars in the front of the school.
Whoa.
My son is 6, 7 at the time, so I did not associate that with him. So I get there, he's sitting in the corner. They've taken the rest of the class into another room, and he's just crying in a corner. And the teacher is saying that, he was just screaming. He wouldn't stop screaming. He wouldn't stop screaming. And he said she wouldn't listen to me. I was screaming because you wouldn't listen to me. You wouldn't let me say what I needed to say. So basically, they told me that they had Baker acted him because they felt like that he was a danger to himself and other students.
Wait, a danger to himself in what way? What is it that a 6, 7 year old is going to do to be a danger to himself and others? I mean, what did they think? Did they think he was going to come to school with an AK-47 and like what? Tell me, I need to know. I'm saying, are y'all curious? Tell me, I need to understand. Can I get some? Did they give you any specifics? Like
Okay, so
what
in
do?
some of the classrooms, they'll put tennis balls on the bottom of the chairs, so that you could move them around the room without making noise and without scraping the floor. So he had, once he got, riled up and he started screaming, he started crying, he sat on the floor and he took the tennis balls off of the bottom of his chairs and he threw them at the teacher because she wasn't listening to him.
Okay. So, but he's 7. He ain't gonna kill nobody with a tennis ball. Like, really? So they were already trying to label him at the age of 7. Now, how old is your son now?
He's 16 now.
Okay. Now, has your son killed anybody? Is he like?
So I went to pick him up. I'm saying, okay, I'll take him home. And they said, no, you can't take him home. We Baker acted him, which means he's got to go to Joe DiMaggio Hospital. Those of you in South Florida, you know Joe DiMaggio. He's got to go to Joe DiMaggio Hospital to be de-escalated diagnosed. Right. So I was like, what? What are you talking about right now? Like he's 6, 7 years old. Like, why does he need to go to the hospital? And that's when the police stepped in and said, ma'am, either you get in your car and you drive your son to the hospital, or you're going to get in the back of a police car and we're going to drive your son to the hospital.
Wow. Wow. Are you kidding me?
No.
What city was this in? What city and state?
Davie, Florida.
Davie, Florida.
Same county. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna say the school because people probably have their children there right now. But it was a very popular city school that it takes a lottery to get into, and everybody like wanted to join the lottery and get picked, and their child to get picked to be in this school. Yeah. So when I took him to, I did, of course, with the encouragement of the 4 police officers, 2 for each car, that came out to the school for my 2nd grader. We drove to the hospital with them following us, and I admitted him, and they took him to the psych ward for children, and released him that same day. A couple hours later, because I sat in the waiting room, but they released him to me a couple hours later, and the psychologist who came down, by the time he got there, he wasn't crying anymore. He was sitting in the back, read the book. He was just a normal child again. He didn't know what's the big deal.
Being a 7-year-old.
Right. He didn't know what's the big deal. So she said, ma'am, your son is gifted. I don't know what they told you was wrong with him, but your son is gifted. So I was just like, I could have told you that. And she's like, but here's the thing that people don't know about gifted students. Gifted students are listed under special ed. And yeah, gifted students are listed under special ed because they're extremely smart, but then they also have things that are specific to gifted students, meaning a lot of them can be perfectionists to a fault. A lot of them can be need to be heard. And if you don't listen, they can get really antsy and riled up like he did. So there's some characteristics about gifted students that put them under special ed. So she's like, ma'am, your child is gifted. We're going to write this up, take this back to your school, have them tested for the gifted program. They didn't want to test him for gifted. They want to test him for special ed. I withdrew my son from that school that day.
Wow. What solution did you find? Did you put him in a different school, or what was the ultimate?
At first, I was homeschooled. I had homeschooled him up until that point, up until he got into that school. That was his first school that he went to. So I homeschooled him again for a little while, but then the neighborhood school, the principal was a Black woman, and I knew her. So I went in and I talked to her. I showed her his paperwork. I told her the situation that he was having, and she agreed to work with him. And so, but what I did do, I did get him tested for gifted and special ed, because there's laws in both categories that would not allow them to just send my child to a hospital. I could sue them for that.
Interesting. Well, and by the way, everybody, I'm talking to Cheryl Urban. She's the founder of the New Alpha STEM Educational Center down in Fort Lauderdale. Now, some of you are asking, what is her school and how can you support? She's going to give you a link tomorrow. I'll share it here on how to enroll your child if you'd like to be a part of the school. But also, if you'd like to support her school, you can actually go to $1 Everything's spelled out, ONE $1 So if somebody could type that in, it's $1 You can actually support. I know I'm going to support financially and otherwise, largely because I believe that it's very important for us to know the importance of supporting our own schools. I just read last week, Cheryl, that Lion King came out and Lion King made $500 million or something for Disney in about a weekend, right?
Wow.
And a lot of that money came out of the black folks' pockets, which is fine. Beyonce and Disney, they deserve support if that's what you want to give them. But I think that if you really look at the severity of our educational problem as black people, a problem is going to last about as long as you tolerate it. A problem will be solved when you decide that it's going to be worth solving. So ultimately, my point on that is to say that we could talk all day about what they're doing to our kids. We could talk all day about not getting educated, about our kids being criminalized at an early age. We could talk all day about our kids being mistreated by these teachers. But if you're sitting around and all you're doing is talking about it, we're not doing anything about it, then we deserve that. We're asking for that. I'm not going to say we deserve it, but we're asking for it. We're allowing it. We're okay with that. Right. So what I would just say to you is I'm okay with us supporting Disney. If y'all want to give billions of dollars to Disney, that's fine. It's up to y'all to do that. But I would hope that we can also give billions of dollars to these black schools that are out here that are really trying to solve a real problem, that are really trying to help real children and real families overcome real issues with real oppression. Because Disney and Wakanda and Lion King, that's all fantasy. That's all something that white people made up for you to get all your money out of your pocket, and you can't be distracted by the fantasy so much that you ignore the reality. So I hope that you guys will join me, and I'm going to be one of the persons. I'm not going to just talk about it. I'm going to be about it. I'm going to step in. I'm going to support the school, and if you go to $1adaydrive.com. You can actually support the building of the school. You've heard about other people in the black community that are building schools that cost tons and tons of money, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars and stuff like that. And that's fine. Some of y'all supported that. I gave money to a very popular or very well-known school. It was controversial. I'm not even going to say the name of the person or anything. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I gave money to that because I support that, right? But the other thing I can say about people like Cheryl is that you have thousands, not just one or two superstar educators in the community. You got thousands of black educators that are building real schools. They can, if you give them $10,000 tomorrow, they can have a school educating kids tomorrow, or next week, right? So what I would just say to you is also, support what you want to support. Give money to Disney if that's something you enjoy doing, but don't give more to them than you give to us. Don't give more to them than you give to yourself. Don't give more to them than you give to your own community, because that is what I call that reverse reparations. Like we give reparations to white people because we support white businesses more than we support black businesses. So that backward ass thinking is going to take you backwards. So stop being backward and let's support our own. So this is a drive for her school. I'm thinking about this, so I'm really sharing this. And if it sounds like I'm being pushy, it's because I'm being pushy. I hope that you guys will go to $1adaydrive.com. It ain't that much money, and you'll be changing kids' lives. And y'all know, if you agree with me, I hope that you'll admit right here that we need to get our kids out of these damn schools because they're in danger zones. And in fact, I'm gonna ask you about this, Cheryl, and I'd like to get your take on this. Because there's a connection, right? There's a connection between the miseducated or uneducated child and the struggling grown-up, right? Every brother or sister out here that ain't quite got it right, that's doing crazy stuff with their kids, out here acting a fool, getting locked up, making mistakes, making bad choices. Daddies ain't taking care of their kids. If you go back 10 years earlier, 15 years earlier, we had a chance to build a better black man. We had an opportunity to build a better black woman. We had an opportunity to build a better black person, right? But somehow, some way, that opportunity was missed, right? How did that get missed? If you, I'm serious. I'm just being real. I'm trying to help y'all connect the dots. If you look at a crazy 28-year-old man who's got 10 kids with 7 women and getting into stuff and struggling, go back 15, 16, 17 years, you had a 10, 11-year-old who could have been turned into anything. That wasn't that long ago. So my question is always like, what happened? What happened? What faulty programming did he receive that led him to become this destructive force in his community? Well, I say, Cheryl, and I'd love to get your take on this. I'm not even going to frame it as a question. I'm going to make a comment, and then I would love for you to come in and just share your perspective on it. My argument is that we didn't misprogram that child. We didn't miseducate them. What we did, what our fault was that we let somebody else do the job. We hand our children over to white people and say, here, educate our babies. And they fuck it up. Excuse my French. I hate saying it like that, but they totally mess it up. And then we going to get mad. We want to be upset. Oh, these brothers ain't got it together. Well, if you're letting other people educate your kids, then you're going to get whatever they decide to give you. It's like letting somebody cook your food. You can't tell them to cook your food and then get mad because the food has poison in it. So what are your thoughts on what I just said?
A couple of things. One, for every struggling adult, there was a struggling child, whether that was struggling at home or struggling in school. I agree with that. But I also think that for every politician, Black doctor, Black lawyer that we complain about that doesn't actually come back to the neighborhood and help was an educated Black child. It's the same system. One of our scholars, her name is Marimba Ani. Marimba Ani wrote a book called Urugu. She also wrote another book called Let the Circle Be Unbroken, right? So in those books, she is dissecting culture, dissecting European culture. And there's one concept that she has, and she calls it the asili, or the seed of culture. And that seed is planted in the minds of other people. So how is it that our politicians, our doctors, our lawyers, our accountants can go on and be super successful, but then that not trickle down to the rest of the community? And that is partially because the seed, a Eurocentric seed, has been implanted in them within the concept of their education and in that educational system. So it's not just the children that are failing that were affected by their education or lack thereof. It was the children, those of us who are doing very well, that were affected as well. So if you look at a seed, any seed, right, the information for what that is to become is embedded within that small seed. So within an apple seed is an apple tree. You're not going to plant an apple seed and get an orange tree. I don't think we've genetically modified things to that point just yet, right? So within the cultural seed, a European cultural seed, you have things like individualism, cornerstone of our culture. And when I say our, I mean the American culture, right? Under the Western culture, the European culture, cornerstone. Yep. That is a part of the information in that asili, in that seed, right? That individualistic, that I, that me, a sense of hierarchy and really stratifying things that is in that seed. A sense of dichotomy. It's either this or that. It's good or bad. It's lock them up, or that is in that seed. So those are the seeds that are planted in every child, not just the failing child. So the failing child who has that seed of individualism could go out and shoot somebody and not feel like they've transgressed against a part of themselves because they don't see it that way. It's just them as an individual, them against the world. A succeeding child can make $250,000 a year and move out to the suburbs and you never see them again. And they don't connect that to their community because they have that same seed of individualism planted within them. And both of those people are poisonous to the Black community. Both of them.
That's true. That's right. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think that it's almost like you wonder what's worse for a black child to go to to go to a public school and be uneducated, or for them to go to that school and become severely miseducated. Because you have a lot of highly educated people where they're so severely miseducated that their education adds no value to the community. So they're almost like a powerful weapon that's been aimed at the wrong person.
Right.
If I get a powerful
Or,
gun.
or at best neutralized. A powerful weapon that has been neutralized. It's
Yeah.
it because I don't like for people who have made it and do have the $100,000 jobs, the $250,000 jobs, to think that they're being picked on. I don't. That is not where I'm coming from at all. But if that seed of European of a European worldview has been implanted in us, we won't pass the baton.
Mm,
Not on a macro scale, you might pass the baton to your own child, but then if your own child is in that same system, there's no guarantee that it's going to go down to theirs.
yeah.
And so, and I don't want people to think that it's like, oh, we're calling them out for not coming back or not contributing in a way that we think. No, that's not it. We have all been uh, inculcated with the same seed. It's a weeding process. At this point, it's not a matter of who has that seed implanted in them and who doesn't. That's irrelevant. We all do. Right now, it's a weeding out process. It's a learning to recognize the parts of us that are of another culture and weed that out. And because those are the things that are going to help us as a group to move forward, right? And that's what an African centered education does. It really gives you the ability to see the seed, gives you the ability to see the weeds that are growing, gives you the ability to see culture, gives you the ability to see what is European culture, because it's like water. A fish doesn't know it's wet. It's just in the water. And that's how we're behaving. We're just all behaving like this is. No, European culture is actually a thing. It is not the background of everything. It is a thing in and of itself. And it has its own implications, it has its own impacts on our lives and in the lives of our children. And we can learn to see that, and we can learn to put other things in place that actually have the results that we want, right? That actually teach our children to create the results that we want.
mm. Well, I agree. I think whether whether you would say, neutralized or misapplied, it's the same thing, right? If you're misapplied, you're neutralized because you're not hitting the target in terms of
Right.
your, like at least I remember that's how I felt. I was highly educated, and I knew a few things about my blackness, but I didn't know as much as I needed to know. And I remember feeling like, okay, I'm very smart, I'm working extremely hard, I'm accomplishing a lot, and I'm even making some money. But what good is this really doing to the people that I care about, right? So
Right.
I don't know if I would even call myself totally neutralized, because I was actually a powerful asset for the people that I was working for. I was
Right.
I was building their institutions, and that's what a
Absolutely.
lot of the black professionals do. They become tremendous assets for building something for somebody else.
Right.
Financially, we become tremendous assets for building white businesses where we spend all our money.
Right.
And so I think that to me, I'm thinking, if I'm a white supremacist and I'm educating an oppressed group of brown and black and brown people, then what I'm going to do is I'm never going to train you to use your skill and your energy and your talent to do anything other than support my agenda and support what I got going on. You know,
Right.
because I mean, that's what the schools, from what I understand, that's what a lot of the public schools were established for. They were established to create workers for American corporations. That's why a lot of HBCUs were established. They said, okay, well, we got these black people. They've got all this human capital, billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of labor and skill and talent. We're going to help them and educate them, and they'll get these degrees, and then they're going to come work for us. And then at the end of the day, they'll get a paycheck, and we'll get empires. And
Right.
that's how it's going to be. What I'll let you get the last thought, Cheryl, on the last word here. So can you tell me, where are you with the new Alkebulan STEM Educational Center?
Yeah.
So $1 a day drive.com. That's your website where people can support you. $1 a day.
Yes. Yes.
$1 a day drive.com. I hope you guys will write that down. I keep repeating.
You know what's funny, boys? I'm gonna say this. I'm not calling anybody out, but this is the results I've had so far, right? I've had people tell me that it's not in their budget to give $1 a day.
Mm,
And it was paid. Okay, I had it that set monthly for $31 a month. Okay, so I said, okay, let me just go and do it weekly, $7 a week.
mm,
And I don't know if it's because we're skeptical about giving to things. I don't know. I don't quite know where the skepticism comes from. But let me just really say to everyone, I am not asking people to do anything that I have not done. Uh, my first, when I branched out on my own the first time in 2013, it was because I was in a teaching job that was less than $50,000 a year with my son, single. I went home. I said, Mom, since before I graduated college, you knew I told you I am building schools. Even when I wasn't building schools, I was building schools, but I don't have the funds to do it. So, can I come and stay with you and just save everything that I make teaching?
mm,
She allowed me to come and stay in her house and stay there for free. I paid off my car so I wouldn't have any bills. And every dime that I made from the public school system that year, I put it away. And I took that $40,000 and I opened a school.
mm.
So I'm not asking anybody to do anything that I haven't done many, many times over. I've financed the entire thing out of my own pocket. You haven't seen me on the internet asking for anything, but the work is being done because I felt like it's worthy work. It's work that um, it's work that our children need and that our children um, deserve.
Mhm.
So
Well, I'm sharing your website, by the way, so people can look at it while you're, describing it. And I see you have a one-time donation where people can just give one time, and that will be it for now. You have the Weekly Warrior monthly support, $2 a day. You have a $5 a day option and a one-time donation of $500. And so what I'm definitely gonna do for sure is I know I'm going in that $500 donation mark right now, and I'm literally filling this out right now as we speak. And I'm going to be the first to make a donation. I'm doing this in front of everybody because I want everybody to know that I support your school and that I want to see you succeed and win. And so I hope that others will consider doing the same thing because I think it's important for us to understand the severity of this issue. This problem is not going to fix itself. And and if you look at any other culture that has been successful, they support the institutions they believe in. Like they say, I don't know if you heard this statement, Cheryl, where they say, what is it? Don't tell me what your values are. Show me what you do with your money, and I'll tell you what you value. And I think that this really applies here. And
yeah,
so, literally, as we were talking, as I just made that statement, you're going to go and you're going to open up the account and you'll see an extra $500 in there. So I'm doing that deliberately in front of everybody on purpose so that everybody will know that I'm not just asking you guys to do something that Cheryl's not willing to do, that I'm not willing to do. Whatever you can do, I hope that you'll just think about that. Just process. What are we doing for our own community? What are we putting into causes we believe in? When that church, what was it? That cathedral over in Paris burned down.
yes,
I think it was Notre Dame. Yeah, when Notre Dame burned down, or a section of it burned down, they collected $1 billion, I think,
from African countries.
in 48 hours. Yeah, from a lot of African countries too. Really?
Yes,
Yeah, like I mean that's just real. When Disney.
That's what I mean about the Asili. You see, how can an African country that has been oppressed by France turn around and donate millions of dollars to rebuild the cathedrals that came in? Professor Sylvia Winter, she's another one of our scholars. See, that's another thing. If your children don't go to our schools, they'll never know our scholars. I didn't know our scholars until after I got out of the school system and I started studying on my own. And
Mm.
that right there is, yeah.
What's
Like
crazy?
Dr. Claude Anderson, did you study him in school?
Well, what's crazy is most black kids don't even know anything about Marcus Garvey. How you gonna? I mean, that right there to me is one of the things that just really. I think that highlights just how ridiculous the system is, or this process is. That you know more about people that raped your great 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 grandmother than you know about the people that actually fought for your liberation. That if that don't tell you that we're just in a backward situation, I don't know what does.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to ask everybody to do is I'm going to give the website again. I'm cutting and pasting it into the chat so you guys can see it. It's $1adaydrive.com. ONE, every word is spelled out. $1adaydrive.com. Here's the URL. I just pasted it in there into the chat. For those of you who are watching on Facebook, I can't paste it in there, but it's $1adaydrive.com. So I hope you guys will go and support and be a part of it. If you want to enroll your child, you'll give a link for that when you come back.
I will. And I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to share with people what it is that they're supporting. Because how is this school different from any other school, right? So our school is drastically different from other schools. It's a project-based learning school. What does that mean? Everything that we do, all of the academics that we do, is built around a project that the children are working on. So they're building something and they're learning the academics based on what they're building. What does that mean? In August and fall, the first project of the fall is called Got Drive, the mechanics of motivation. And Got Drive is talking about the mechanical drive because they'll be building cars. One of them is an electronic car that they program with coding to actually have their cell phones be the remote control. So they're going to build the car from scratch, code it, and then use their phones as a remote control. But the larger project is always a larger project. The larger project is a two-seater gas-powered car, like a go-kart, steel frame, everything. It's like a real car. So we take what they're building and we extract the academics from there. What does that mean? So since they're building a car, the math that they're going to be doing is algebra at every level from 4 to 14. They're going to learn the fundamentals of algebra. The science that they're doing is physics and mechanics, acceleration, momentum, the 3 laws of motion, all physics. That's the science that they're learning at all levels from age 4 to 14. So math, the science, the history that they're learning is about movements, right? So movements throughout history and why movements start, how they, the progression of those movements and what stymies them. So the same thing that happens in social movements happens on the physical level if you're studying physics, right? So they're from the civil rights movement to the anti-apartheid movement to social media as a social movement. So they're going to be studying all these movements, how they impacted uh, our people, and how we drove them forward, and then what made them stop. Like social hip hop as a movement, what drove that forward and what made it stop. So that's the history. The language arts is the reading and writing at the highest levels of it all. And then there are 4 electives that go with that. One of them is psychology, talking about what drives you as an individual, what creates inertia within ourselves. So where you have that as above, so below. So it's going to be physics and then also the psychology of it. Energy, psychology, biographies. They learn all of the African and African American scholars related to the project. Um, and college level vocabulary. So
Okay.
what we do, we don't start with their grade and say, this is what you should be learning in this grade. We say, this is what you're building. What academics do you need and are related to what you're building? So our children never ask, why do I need this? Why do I have why do I have to do this? Because if you're learning algebra, when you get ready to do the physics calculations, you'll know why you needed it. And then when we're studying momentum and acceleration in the cars that you're building, you'll know why you need it. So that we never get that
Mm.
question in the space.
Yeah, I think that's an important way to educate, because I think that if people understand why they're learning something, then they're going to figure out the how. Like anything I ever ask anybody to do, like when I talk about economics and finances and so, I give people the why first. I help them understand why being financially intelligent is going to improve your life. Why having assets is better than having no assets. Why having multiple streams of income will protect you from economic slavery. Why you're frustrated on your job every day because you never learn how to create a job. And what I find is that once I give the why, I don't even have to push the how, because people will
Right.
come to me for the how. They're like, oh, you're right, I do need to fix that. And then they want to fix it. And I think that a lot of education goes in the wrong direction. When I didn't have the why, I was like, well, I don't want to know the how, because you
Right.
wasting my dang time. But when I needed the why, and I didn't figure that out until I was about 24, 25. But
Right.
I tried to start my PhD program in finance, and I was not prepared to do the work because the math was too hard. And so I realized, I said, okay, I need to learn math, because that's going to help me understand finance, which will help me
Right.
get my PhD. So when I went back to get my master's in math, I already had the why. Like I knew what I was trying to apply it to. So I
Right.
knew what information I was looking for. I could connect the dots. Or like also in MBA programs, the students that do the best in MBA programs are people that have already worked in corporate America, and then they're going back to school because they're learning all these theories. And because they've had experience, they know why these theories matter, right? But if you're just getting the information and you don't know how it's applied, like they're like, here's how you use a hammer. You're like, why would I need a hammer? Like, what's that for, right?
Right.
Like,
What am I building?
well, you don't understand the need to build anything. You don't know what you're building. You're like, oh, I know how to use a hammer, but I'm looking for a nail to hammer just for whatever reason. That's not going to motivate you. But I think if you see, this vision in your mind of a big, beautiful house you want to build, and then they say, oh, here's how you use a hammer. You're like, okay, I really want to learn how to use this, because that's going to help me achieve my goal, achieve my dream, achieve my vision. So I
Absolutely.
like that. I like that a lot. And I'll say this, I supported your school. I didn't just support your school just because I know that you're great at what you do. And in fact, you went to Stanford. Did you go to Stanford? Is that right?
I did. I have my master's in education from Stanford.
Yeah, so I know you're a Stanford graduate. I know you're super smart, and I know you're a really great person and very supportive. But I supported it because you're a Black woman who's trying to make a difference, And maybe there was that chance that I was supporting something that wasn't that great, which I didn't believe that, because I know you and I see you on social media all the time. But I just kind of think that sometimes we put so much scrutiny on Black people that build a business or build an institution that we don't put on anybody else. We will go out and drop all kinds of money on other people's businesses and not ask hardly no questions. We're not like, well, where did this hot dog come from? Or why did you charge me $4 instead of $3.50? Like we're not really doing that anywhere else except for when it comes to our own, because there's something weird about us where we hate ourselves so much that we won't support each other because we just like to see other people that look like us miserable. I don't know what it is. I think it's very strange that we will, like even when we were talking about Umar's school, there was all the controversy and I was in the middle of it and all that, but I gave the money and people were like, do you regret giving the money? I said, no, I don't care. It's $25. I spent
Yeah.
$25 going to the movies.
I
So
gave to my school too.
what you say? Yeah, yeah. It was like okay, yeah, sure, okay. Good luck. If it works, it works. Great. And I didn't feel like, oh man, I'm mad. I need to go find him and get my $25 back. You know what I mean? Like we kind of, something about Black businesses causes us to get real weird. Like if I'm gonna tell you this. I believe this, and I'm shut up after I say this. I believe that if we were to scrutinize white businesses the way we scrutinize Black businesses, like white people would lose $1 trillion a year. Like if we really started giving white people the business every time they ask for a dollar, like they would lose hundreds of billions of dollars from us, because we would find that that's really where our money's being lost. That's really where we're being robbed and ripped off and everything else. And so I support Black stuff because it's Black, and I want to see it succeed. And if it doesn't succeed, so what? We try again. That's what you do. That's investing. Investing is like basketball. You don't take a shot because you expect to hit every shot. You take shots because you have to take shots to hit shots.
Yeah.
If you don't take the shot, you'll never hit anything. And what we do is we don't take any shots. We so scared. We got busy. Like Jay Morrison went through that. Jay with the Tulsa Fund. Jay,
Right.
I talked to Jay about it for a long time, and he was really on point because people have been scrutinizing things so much in the NFL. Those agents and lawyers and stuff at the NFL that control the players' money have written this nasty email out to the players saying be cautious of this fund because there are people associated that have a criminal record and blah blah blah. They weren't doing that to the other funds.
He tells people about his past all the time.
Right, exactly. And we're smart enough to know that just because a white man locked a Black man up, that don't mean that the Black man was a bad person, because we know about the mass incarceration epidemic. We know what they did to our communities. We know that they overlook crimes in other communities so they can incarcerate us, right? So we understand that, right? And the thing was, Jay had everything on point. He was very precise with everything. And I said, be careful about letting these people make you feel like you have to be super self-conscious. Like, of course you want to do business ethically. Of course you want to do everything on the up and up, but don't feel like you got to be perfect and you can't make a mistake and lose all your validity just because you made one mistake or just because something went wrong or your fund didn't make money 1 year or something like that, because that's why we lose. Or you got relatives, in your family, you start a business and they're skeptical from the beginning. And so you have a bad year, you lose some money and people are standing around saying, I told you so. And those people, to me, I get angry about that because.
You know what? I'm going to stop you because it's related to the school, right?
Mm.
A lot of us do that because we've never seen anybody build anything. We've
Yeah.
never actually in our own lives seen anybody build anything that works. Like we might, like maybe vendors, maybe people who get to the flea market level, but the vast majority of us have never seen anybody go through the process of building something, particularly and especially go through the process of building a system. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. We don't know what it looks like. And there's a fear around that. So one of the theme and the motto of our school is creating creators. That's what we do, creating creators. We want our children to have built so many things, so many major projects and products by the time they reach 8th grade, that they come to know themselves as a creator. We call it a maker's mindset or creator's mindset. We expect our children to go through from pre-K or nursery school to 12th grade in the public school system, never having created anything. And then now they're considered adults, right? And we tell them, well, we need to create our own businesses. We need to create our own jobs. We need to employ our own people. And they're looking at us like, but how? But how you do that? And how do you do that? They've never created anything before, and they've never seen anyone who's created anything before. And that is the vast majority of us, and that's the fear, because we don't know what it looks like. We don't know the ups and downs of it. We don't know the ins and outs of it because we haven't seen it. There are other communities where their parents are creating a restaurant, and you grew up watching it, because when you came out of school, they dropped you off in front of the restaurant. You did your homework in the back of the restaurant while everybody else is serving. When you done with your homework, you put on an apron and you busting tables or you're taking care of the register, and you grow up in that environment of people actually building something. And so that fear of building something, and it's not completely there with them. But with us, I would say the vast majority of us, myself included, have never seen anyone build something of any magnitude, and they've never seen anybody build a system to the level of a Jay Morris or what you're doing or what I'm endeavoring to do. We haven't seen it. And so again, we are creating creators at New Al Kapama. And from 4 years old to 14 years old, we want them to have built so many things, created so many things, that when they come out, that's just what they do. That's like what we're making today.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we need to create the creators, build the builders. And you are right. It's a mindset. And because I'm gonna tell you, they already had a lot of stuff built for us, but they had cages built for us. And I would say that we've got to break out of that, and we got to get our children away from that. So
Yeah.
I support the school. First of all, let me tell you guys before we head on out. The name of my guest is Cheryl Irvin. She is the founder of the New Alpha Milan STEM Educational Center. STEM stands for Science, Technology.
Engineering and mathematics.
There you go, engineering, mathematics, and she's building a school. And we hope that you'll support it. You guys saw me. I made that first donation in hopes that I can inspire some of you to come in and follow suit. And you can go to $1 a day drive.com. That's $1 a day drive.com to support the school. I'm going to give you updates on the school. I'm going to share content from the school. This is one of the schools that I believe in, and there's some other schools you've seen me support across the country. Also, Cheryl was nice enough to put up a platform for those of you who are looking for schools run by good Black folks like us, African-centered schools across the United States. The website is teachourownchildren.com, right, Cheryl?
Yep.
Teachourownchildren.com is a great platform, a resource for those of you who are looking for schools in your own city that will give your children an excellent education. So in fact, what I'll show you guys, I'll do a quick screen share so you all can see the interactive map. We did that film Raising a Black Scholar with Dr. Roosevelt Mitchell III, and that's so education is something that I think should be a top priority for our people. So you can see here, these are interactive maps that will highlight the schools. So you see there's some schools in Texas, here's some in California. And I don't know it looks like we need to find some schools in these areas.
All right, the list is not exhaustive, but this is just my research that I've been able to do so far. So if you know schools in these states that are like blank, or even in any of the states, if you know of schools, you can email me at teachourOwn@gmail.com, and I'll put them on the map. I will put you on the map. If you look here in Florida, I hesitated to put my own school on the map because at the time when I was making it, Dr. Boyce was doing like a contest funding giveaway to the schools. And I didn't want to throw my hat in the ring at that time because I was working with you, Dr. Boyce, and I didn't want it to seem like I was, had an inside hookup of any kind. So I did not put my school on the map, but I will definitely do that. We're here in South Florida, and as far as I know, the only African-centered private school registered with the state of Florida. I could be wrong. If there's some more of us out there, hit me up. I would love to collaborate and work with you, but I'm the only one that I know of. We have lots of homeschoolers here, lots of homeschool co-ops that do great work. I just don't know of any that are building towards systemic growth, which is what we're trying to do. I'm not trying to build one school. I'm really, there's some of us out here who are trying to build a school system, and that's what we need. If we're going to impact the community on a larger scale, we need to build systems, and that's what we're trying to do.
Absolutely. So since we can't get a lot of our celebrities to use their hundreds of millions of dollars to do it, then it's up to us as the people to come together and make this happen. Because I tell you that, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to what some of these people like, the Mayweathers or the, Robert Smiths or Oprahs and others do with all the money that they have. And I'm not even disrespecting that on any level. But it just kind of it's challenging, right? It's crazy that we'll go and work. We have to work our butts off to get 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, and these people are going and spending $1 million on a European car, and it's giving no value to anybody other than themselves, and it just speaks to where we are in terms of being just so stuck and so lost. But I think
it goes back to that seed, Dr. Boyce. It goes back to that seed.
yeah,
It
yeah.
goes back to the seed. Like the brain is the fertile soil for whatever seed is going to be implanted in us as children, right? And so if the seed of individualism is implanted in you early, and that is a cultural norm, it makes sense that I did this, I did this, I did, I did this. Like there is no connection externally in a communal way. So our school is not just about academics. It's not just about building. It is about all of that. But that African-centered component of it, where we go from one worldview, seeing it, to then replacing it with another worldview, not just within our children, but working on ourselves daily, every day to see what's there and replace it, see what's there and replace it. We actively change the culture of the school and change the culture of the learning so that that seed with the information is a whole different set of information, right? So that it will grow up and they will grow up to um, do similar things, succeed at the highest levels, but know why they're doing it.
All right, I agree. So everybody, the one more time, the website is $1adaydrive.com. That's $1adaydrive.com. Also, if you want to find the schools, African Center schools in your area, you can go to teachourownchildren.com. So you can support the new Alkebulan STEM Educational Center by going to $1adaydrive.com. And also, if you want to find African Center schools that you can support in your community as well, go to teachourownchildren.com. So thank you very much, Cheryl Irvin. I appreciate your time. Thank you for hanging out with us. All right. And thank you all for hanging out. And don't forget, for those of you that want to come out, I'll be in Chicago. I'll be teaching all day in Chicago on this Sunday coming up. So you can go to drboycechicago.com if you want to learn about investing for your family, stuff like that. Los Angeles is in August. We're doing Harvest Festival Day out there. Dr. Claude Anderson's flying out. That I confirmed that with him and his wife. So we'll be doing some stuff out there in August. So that's drboycelosangeles.com. And of course, you guys know in September, we have the All Black National Convention. If you'd like to come to the convention and meet a lot of other like-minded Black people like yourselves, come to allblacknationalconvention.com. It's going to be panels and discussions and everything just super, super Black because we ain't playing. We are building. We are kicking butt. We are making things happen. We ain't scared of nobody. So come on out, allblacknationalconvention.com. Thank you guys for hanging out. Hit the thumbs up button before you go. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much, Cheryl.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.